Good morning, folks. Welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. Delighted to say I'm joined by Mick once again, Alwaleed, Stu and Mitch as we look ahead to Newcastle United's start of their cup campaign against Cambridge and look at the transfer window and the arrival of Kieran Trippier. And Mick will start with that. Kieran Trippier was rumoured. Well, he's here now. He's got a black and white shirt. We've seen the photographs and he's eligible to play today. But good signing, good solid signing for your first one.
Yeah, I think we spoke about it a week ago. I think I genuinely thought that yes, absolutely, ticks the box that says he's better than any fullback or pretty much any defender we've had for a long time. He's an England centre back, an England international. He is very much a quality player, but is he at this minute in time? As I said, exactly what we require. We've talked about two centre backs. We've talked about a midfield player. We've talked about the needs that we now need for some sort of cover for Callum Wilson. So Kieran Trippier, at right full back or left full back, wherever he's capable of playing, is a very, very, very capable player. And I made the point yesterday online about the comparison that immediately sprung to mind of me of Barry Venison, back in the early 90s, where we needed somebody calm. We needed somebody authoritative. We needed somebody who was a winner. We needed somebody who was a proper player defensively. And we have got 30 years on a new mode for Barry Venison at fullback for England, for Newcastle United in Kieran Trippier. The difference for me is that at the time when we got Barry Venison, we had the likes of Robert Lee, and we had the likes of Andy Cole, and we had Peter Beardsley, and we had people like that, so that at that moment in time, just getting proper defenders were very much the order of the day. As it stands for me, yes, Kieran Trippier is a fantastic signing, but as long as he is joined along with 4 or 5 others, I'll be fine. I'll be absolutely fine. And I've got a little bit of a feeling as well, listening to Eddie Howe yesterday, that somewhere down the line, it would not surprise me in the slightest if he ends up as maybe captain. It's just a feeling that I've got, because I just the way that Eddie Howe talked about him and his manner, and I like the fact that he's a proper person rather than a player first and foremost. I think there might be an offering that he could end up being fullback of Newcastle United. But he's 31 years of age. Going back to my Barry Venison point yesterday, he was only 28. I'm just thinking about myself. Do the lads here think, is Kieran Trippier along the lines of Ian Rush, John Barnes, Stuart Pearce? Is he that too old in the day, or do we look at him and think, we're going to get 2 very good years out of him, and let's see what they build around him. And as I say, for me, possibly even buy him as a captain.
I've got to be honest, Mick. I'll give my opinion first, and I think it's a good signing. I think it's a good, solid signing. I think there'll be bigger and younger players to come, some with likely less experience. But I think that's a great. I think it's a great sign. I think the fact that he's capable not only of playing well, captaining the side, he's got an ambition to get back in the England team. He's ready to roll his sleeves up in a relegation battle, which is key. And I think he's great at free kicks and set pieces, which is something we're desperately short of and have been probably for about 7 or 8 years. Maybe Kabai is the last person I can think of in a black and white shirt who was capable of curling the ball into the top corner or curling it round the wall. So,
Ryan Taylor.
Ryan Taylor, of course, another one. But you've got those 2. But it shows how desperate we are that you can probably only think of those 2 players in the last 14 years who've been capable of doing it on a regular basis. One-offs, yeah, there's been plenty of them. John Joe Shelby's not akin to hitting 1 every 100. But ultimately, the rest of the guys, just haven't been up to scratch. This guy's proven. He's an England international. He's got his eyes set on the World Cup. And he wants to play for Newcastle, which is the key. And I think that's the key moving forward. And what I loved about Eddie Howe, Mick, this week was that little line where he says, I might be looking tired because I haven't had much sleep because this is a big month. And this is hard work for me in the sense that I'm not just looking for somebody who can fit into this football team. and this football club. I'm looking for somebody who can integrate into the area. And, you know, he's looking at on the pitch and off the pitch. That's great to hear, Mick. It really is. It's great to hear that from a Newcastle manager that he's putting the man hours in, which he should, because he's getting well paid for it.
Yeah.
But
just one quick temper one, because a lot's been made of the fact that Eddie Howe and Kieran Trippier have a relationship because they played at Burnley together. Just be very careful with this one. That Kieran Trippier was a loan signing from Barnsley. He went to Burnley with Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe went very quickly in October of 2012. And don't forget, Kieran Trippier has since then moved on considerably from Tottenham Hotspur, from Atletico Madrid, from England International. So he's a different body to the one that he was with Eddie Howe at Burnley. But if he's a proper person, and I genuinely do believe he is a proper person, that he's real, dyed in the wool types, then I think we'll be fine. But just be a little bit tempered about the fact that there's a big difference between the Kieran Trippier who was with Eddie Howe at Burnley and the Kieran Trippier who is now a proven 31-year-old international who's been at Tottenham and been at Atletico Madrid.
Good stuff. Well, good point. Well made. Tom Lynch, happy birthday, mate. Thank you for all your support in the chat over the last couple of years, mate. One of our staunch followers. So thank you for that, Tom. Alwaleed, good morning. And it's a positive one, isn't it? We made a good signing this week with plenty more to come. And I think you will be sitting eagerly in Saudi watching the television like we are to see who is going to next walk through the door.
Actually, it's not just a good signing; it's ideal signings, because yesterday was all Saudi fans all talk about it is Kieran Trippier, and they think the whole world talking about Kieran Trippier, and we see Butman and the other expected signings. They are starting to doing likes for Newcastle page or Kieran Trippier page and photos. This is a good sign. Why I say it's ideal, because I really feel, and they talked about it before, we need an English player from English national team to be in Newcastle for many reasons, and we got the first or number one choice right back for England, and he play the final Euros, and he's really a great player. The most thing important is he will attract more great player to join. As I said yesterday, this is what all fans are talking about, and we are happy that Butman and Wijnaldum, they start liking pages, as I said. So this is nothing but only great things for Newcastle.
Yeah,
I mean, still we have more than 20 days.
Michael Wallace making the point there, and I'm not sure whether you saw Kieran Trippier's press conference, Alwaleed, but again, negative questions thrown at him in the press conference. We've got over this one now. The first signing with Saudi money, that was the one line that was used. But there was a question, and it was edited on Sky. And I mean, unless you know the voice of the journalist, I couldn't know who it was. The journalist did ask the question. Did the fact that the club is owned by the Saudi state, come into your reasoning behind signing for Newcastle? Did it put
I hear it.
Ridiculous for me.
Yeah, I hear that, but again, this is not the first thing, and just out from the jealousy. For me, it's enough that Alan Shearer play for Newcastle. So, what he wants more than that,
Yeah, I mean, look, it's easily brushed off by people. Anybody with a little bit of expertise. It was the only question I thought that I saw him actually stutter on a little bit, because he probably didn't expect to be asked it. Eddie Howe, when he had his press conference, was asked about it, and he clearly steered the right way. I mean, Kieran got back on track with it, but I think it's just one of those things we're going to have to get used to for the time being until it goes. And some of the negativity, we discussed it last night. I won't name the journalist, but some of the stuff that was on Twitter yesterday, just ridiculous. Jealousy, saltiness, call it what you will. People connected with Qatar, I just really do not understand it. The takeover's done now. Forget it. Move on. Grapevine says Lille have rejected the latest bid. I mean, Steve, I'm not sure who your contacts are. We certainly haven't heard that, but this is what happens with transfers, and especially when a club has a lot of money to spend Don't expect that Newcastle will go in with a top bid at the start, and don't expect that Lille will accept it. The first bid that goes in, there'll be a bit of work to be done on that. But the clear message we got yesterday, I think, is that Botman clearly would like to leave Lille and he would like to come to Newcastle. So I would expect that to still have legs, Steve. Stu, morning, mate.
Good morning. Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Get your Christmas tree down. It's after 12th night, man.
I can't till she comes back.
All right.
Chop me hands off if I touch that tree. It's been there since the end of August.
Yeah, I mean, look, Trippier, mate. Are you happy?
Delighted. And if we talk about England, as Alwaleed mentioned, they've got what you'd call a plethora of right backs or right wing backs. If you go down the list, there's Aarons at Norwich, there's Trent Alexander-Arnold, there's Wan-Bissaka at Man United, there's James at Chelsea, Lamptey at Brighton, Johnson at West Ham, Tanganga at Spurs, all of them quality players. Yet we signed the one that Gareth Southgate wanted to play in the semi-final of the World Cup. He wanted to play in the final of the Euros. We've got the number one right back. And is it Saudi money? Yes, of course it is. They're our owners. So to the question, Klopp, like, is it American money or Tuchel? How about your Russian money? It's irrelevant. It's just we can move on from it, and they will eventually. They'll get bored of the echo chamber that they're in, and that's it. So I'm delighted with Kieran Trippier, and I'm sure there'll be more to come as well.
Anything more from your end? I mean, we had Mitch on last night, with his Batman stuff, which was completely over my head. I'm too focused on doing the show while Mitch is playing around with Batman references last night, which
he's a bit of a joker, isn't he?
I'm now going to be the joker. Oh,
yeah, thank you very much.
But yes, Stu, any like rumours that you've heard from across in the Middle East? Is there any players that we like? I mean, the Botman thing seems to be warming up nightly. Carlos has been mentioned now as well, and anything from your end?
I think Botman will be next. There seems to be too much being said about it for it not to happen. The players clearly want him to come, and when that's more than half the battle. At the start of last week, it was no, he wants AC Milan, or his agent wants AC Milan. So maybe Saudi money's turned his head as well. Thank God for that. We'll get a decent centre back in as well. I put a tweet out earlier in the week hinting at Gareth Bale. Now, that's not without any inside knowledge or someone's contacted me to say Gareth Bale's coming, but I'll put the reasoning behind it. Sorry, that's a call from Saudi Arabia, believe it or not.
It sounded like a Mickey Mouse alarm clock.
It was a client from Saudi. There's the reason behind it is I know, as you've just heard there, I deal with Saudi clients on a regular basis, wealthy Saudi clients. Now, they understand the mantra.
Determined.
They understand.
There's always somebody very important.
I don't know. I know what he's wanting, and I haven't got it. So they understand the mantra of spending money to make money, and yet that's what business is about. Now, with the phrase of statement of intent, or the showcase signing that people are talking about now. The reason I mention like the marquee signing is Gareth Bale is for several reasons. It's a win-win-win situation. Yeah, they talk about there'll be Saudi Arabia saying, "Here we are. We have a player that is world-renowned. He's very well known in Saudi Arabia and the Middle East. It's a win for him because he gets the opportunity." That's a different one. Can you believe that?
We're asking John from QTech saying, "Is that the bat phone?"
Hey, no, it's not actually. No, but it's good out the window in a second. The Saudis and the Middle East, as Mitch referred to last night, they follow players, not just teams. But one of the teams that are very, very well followed in the Middle East is Real Madrid, and they've got a fantastic relationship with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That makes it more commercially credible. They've got an academy in Saudi Arabia, so they're used to dealing with Saudi businessmen. They play Barcelona there on Wednesday in the semi-final of what is the equivalent of our League Cup. It's the Spanish Kings Cup. The finals played there again in Riyadh on Sunday. So we'll have a World Cup coming up. Gareth Bale needs game time. He wants, he's just doing nothing in Madrid. Now, also, if you look at his figures, his salary, he's meant to be about 600,000 a week or something crazy like that. So even if we come to agreement and we'll pay half of that for 20 weeks, that's £6 million that Real Madrid have just gained from someone who would be not even getting on their bench. And at the financial situation they're in, they can't be knocking that back. Now, whether Gareth Bale wants to come or not, it's a different matter. But again, take into consideration that he can come, he can play, he can score goals, he knows the Premier League, and it's good for everybody. Now, whether it happens, whether it doesn't happen, his face can be. We've seen the adverts over here. Mitch and Alwaleed will vouch for the Nivea creams and stuff like that. It's all Real Madrid. The bank cards, it's all Real Madrid. So imagine that, but it's Newcastle United instead. Now, again, speaking from experience, I know that the people in this region are taking interest in Newcastle, but they're not just right. Okay, now they're owned by PIF. We're supporting them. They'll support them when we become successful, and I believe we have owners who they're not messing around. They're not going to wait. They want success as soon as possible, and they're deadly serious about it. They will sorry.
I was just about to say, do we not think here, though, Stu, and sorry to budge in, Mitch, but I listening to what you're saying about that, and it's a great point, and it's very, very informative for people like me, and especially to a lot of Newcastle fans. The thing that starts worrying me, Stu, is if I'm Eddie Howe, and I don't want a player necessarily, but it's being foisted on me because there is a relationship between the Saudi regime and the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona and Gareth Bale and big name players, etc., etc. Yeah. Are we not worrying here that managers are just going to be foisted, as I say, by the regime on players that they don't necessarily want, but they have to get a hold of because that's what's seen to be the Saudi way?
Yeah. Well, this is just my train of thought as it is, Mick, but I believe the injury of Callum Wilson is added more fuel to the fire. Yes, we need someone up front. We need someone that can score goals. We need someone short term. And I took quite clearly from Eddie Howe's press conference yesterday, he's involved in all the decision making regarding the players. And if he says he hasn't got time, he said his own words, I haven't got time to research everyone, but I'm sure he'll identify certain positions. And as a club, we need to grow. We want to grow, and we need to grow to get to where we want to be. We can't just be dependent on rich, wealthy owners, because they haven't bought us as a toy. They've bought us to make money long term. So if you look at today's game, we've sold out 52,000 to Cambridge in the third round of the Cup. Yeah. That tells me, it screams out that the stadium's not going to be big enough in the coming years. Yeah. So we have to be able to. It's okay being sentimental. It's okay being I wouldn't say stuck in the past, but we have to look forward.
Yeah, but I'm not, Stu. I'm not disagreeing in the slightest about us signing big name players. But I want a big name player. I'd want the biggest player in the world if possible. But I'd want him for 24 million for 24 years of age or 25 years of age. What I'm saying, the point here is Gareth Bale. Is Gareth Bale, for that amount of money, what we want? Going back to the point made earlier about the Pierce, Rushers, and the Barnes, who once upon a time came to Newcastle for a year or 2 years. Stuart Pearce wasn't so bad, but Barnes and Rush were really neither here nor there once upon a time.
No, I totally agree. Barnes and Rush weren't over the hill; they were in the next meadow, weren't they?
Yeah.
When they come to Newcastle, Gareth Bale still has
where is Bale these days? I don't know.
Yeah, it's where he is mentally more than physically. That's the thing. But that's just the name I threw into the ring, and to think, well, it makes sense on several fronts. Now, whether that's going to happen, whether it's not going to happen, the same as last night, Steve Hasty was hinting at Marcelo for similar reasons. You can make cases for and against everything. But if we're bringing someone in, we need straight away the urgency now is for a centre forward. It looks like we'll get a centre half or two in the next week. The centre forward it's a key position in any team, not just ours. We need someone who can stick the ball in the net. It's patently clear that Dwight Gale's not fancied for many reasons behind the scenes, but we have to be starting to look for bigger and better. But whether we can attract them at the moment now is the key. I mean, I think if we did a straw poll, everyone would want Vlahovic, wouldn't it, from Fiorentina? But is he wanting to come to a relegation fight? Is he prepared to put his own career on stop for a season or two until we do get into the Champions League, or if we get into the Champions League? Whereas Bale has something to prove, as yes, even for his own fitness. So that was just to put loads of things into one mix, and that was the name I personally come up with. But I agree that there's other things that are more pertinent, but Bale would make sense on several fronts. Now, whether Eddie Howe wants him or not is a different matter, and I think this is crux to any conversation. Does he look at the player,
or can he be told? That's the other more important point from me. Will he be told what he can and what he can't get?
Well, if we look at the last few managers, Rafa was the one that would stand up against the board and say, "I want to do it my way." Where Bruce was unfortunately more of a yes man and just delighted he got a job in the Premier League. Where I think Eddie Howe has more about him. Yeah, and if he doesn't want someone, he'll see it.
But the problem is we're talking about this regime, and this is the first transfer window. This is the first time that we've been able to open our eyes and had a look at exactly how these people operate. So we don't know. I mean, that's why I'm asking you, because you know in that area, you see the way that they operate. I've got no idea how these people operate in terms of whether they will bully managers into saying, right, I want him, I need him, or will they literally hold hands up and say, if you want him, you can have him. If you don't want him, we're not having him. I
definitely think the latter, Mick, because they're very, very shrewd business people. You know, I think I've mentioned on a previous show, they might have all the money in the world, but if they want something, they get the expertise. You know, they don't claim to be the masters of all trades. You know, they'll get the right people in for the right job. And it seems like the relationship Eddie Howe has with his superiors is bang on. So with that, if he says, I don't want that person, then I can't see him coming. I don't think he'd be forced. They don't want to rock the boat, especially at this stage. We're in a critical period. You know, let's get through to summer. Let's get the survival, and then then we can start making the marquee signings, etc. But the reason I said Gareth Bale was simply for the suggestions I gave before. Yes, it's commercially viable. Yes, he needs to be playing football with a World Cup year, and we certainly need a centre forward and someone who knows the Premier League. It ticks a lot of boxes, but I agree there's reasons why not to. Is his attitude going to be right? Is his commitment going to be there? You know, is he going to be too much of a prima donna? I don't know, but that was just a name I wanted to throw in.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, Mitch, Gareth Bale, another name thrown into the mix this time by Stu. But I mean, look, it is a little bit like playing, just playing lucky strike with this. It's monopoly football at the minute for us, and we've only got the one signing in. Let's not get carried away. We're getting linked with everybody. I mean, we talked about this last night. I sat with a big smile on my face most of this week, just watching Sky Sports News every hour. You know, but there's a player gets linked with a move, and Newcastle's name is mentioned, and I think that, you know, we won't get all of these players, not by a long shot, not in this window anyway, but it's just great to hear Newcastle being linked with potentially new players, which we haven't had for 14 years.
Sorry, Steve, my headphones have just died.
Oh, don't say I've got to repeat all that again.
2 minutes, mate.
Right, okay, I'll take you out. All right. I mean, look, coming to you then, Mick. I mean, you've just had a chat with Stu about that. From my perspective, we're getting linked with every single player. And we've got to keep our feet on the ground, haven't we?
Well, I'll tell you something else as well that I was thinking about yesterday and thinking about this morning, Steve, about what you just said there as well. And I know because of the Ashley regime and the last 14 years haven't been in the slightest bit great whatsoever. But you know what I started thinking about this morning? I started thinking about Debussy. I started thinking about Cabaye. I'm thinking about Sissoko. I thought about Papi Cissé, God bless him. I thought about Demba Ba. I thought about the good players that Graham Carr found from France. I found about some of the good players that we've had. Yes, we've had scrimped and saved, and Ashley on occasions hasn't even offered a penny available to managers to make signings. But we have made signings, and we have made good signings. And in particular, that little purple spell of, as I say, Cabaye, you've already mentioned, Debussy I've thrown in, Barr I've thrown in, Cisse. I mean, we're talking at this minute in time about wanting somebody to replace in for or full stop replace Callum Wilson. Demba Ba and Papi Cisse are top players, you know. Now, we found them once upon a time. Yes, we found them with an owner who wouldn't spend his money to save his life, but we managed to get them. So let's not pretend for the last 14 years we never got anybody. We never found anybody. We never get a hold of people from France or wherever. You know, if you're very careful in the footballing game, you can find these players. And this is why, again, going back to the point I've just made about Stu, because we don't know this regime, we don't know who the director of football is. I don't really know who's trying to find these players. But once upon a time, if I just throw in Graham Carr, we had somebody. Yes, all right, it was a little bit hit and miss. Yes, it wasn't because he was an Ashley man. He wasn't particularly liked. But we got some very, very good players. And those ones I've just named. So, you know, let's see who is being sought behind the scenes here now, and who is available now.
Yeah, Mitch, are you back with us?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's just great, isn't it, just to sit and watch the TV and get linked with all these players, Mitch.
It is why what we touched on last night. I think just to let you into some things. I mean, what Stu's just gone on about there lets you into some of the daft WhatsApp conversations we have at 2 a.m. something. Because this is sort of the way we bounce off each other about what ideas is coming in and what are we hearing, and comparing everything that we're hearing to what our own personal thoughts are. And I think with the Trippier signing, it's not just about Trippier, it's about the blend of the players, like I discussed last night. Who else are they going to bring in? What kind of blend of experience, knowledge of the Premier League? Because the mission this window is do not get relegated. That's the only mission. If some of those players can also then come in and help form a platform to build to the next level from, then even better. I think what's happened is in the early days of the takeover, there was so much to sort out. The decision making seemed a little clunky because everything seemed to be needing to be rubber stamped and Riyadh. And I think during that process, there's a trust being developed between PIF and the other members of the consortium, and I think Eddie Howe. And I think Eddie Howe is far more key in this than perhaps we realise. Because all of a sudden, at one point, the talks of director of football stopped. We're not looking for one of them anymore. And my understanding is that when Eddie Howe came in and delivered a presentation, it was so well thought through that I think they've looked at it as a consortium and gone, there's the vision we're going to follow in the short term, because I think this is the one that's going to get out of trouble. And I think a lot of the decisions and a lot of the hard work is being done by Eddie Howe. And PIF, like many Saudi businesses, when they own a company, as Stu say, they want to listen to the experts. If they don't know something, they'll get an expert in. And they're very quick to develop that trust. If they like the cut of someone's jib and the way they're going with something, and they like the early decisions that they've made, they'll let them run with it. I'm aware of some Saudi companies giving people huge amounts of rope to go so far with and make autonomous decisions without, to a point, not necessarily having to have everything rubber stamped back in Riyadh or in Jeddah. But at the same time, when they decide that enough's enough, and that rope will be reeled in. But I think in the position we're in, I think they understand they've got to run with football people. They've got to run with decisions which are basically going to get out of trouble. That's what we need to do. That's our goal with this transfer window. If we get the bonus of then having other people it brought in this transfer window who can then help get us to the next level, and we made this point last night, it does make very much feel to me like bringing in Barry Venison, bringing in Kevin Sheedy, bringing in Paul Bracewell, who got another 2 years out of his career plus because of his time with us.
Just got to bring an Andy Cole in now, don't we?
I think if you're going to make, however, the comparison across to Rush and Barnes, for me though, in that time, professional footballers have become more athletic, and so when you're picking up a 31-year-old now, it probably is the equivalent of picking up a 27, 28-year-old 10, 15 years ago. I think they are different beasts, and I think they work different way. There's a lot more sports science goes into football these days.
I think the other problem as well, just quickly, Mitch, is, and I agree, because I mentioned the venison, but everybody sort of jumped on quite rightly the fact that Venison then tied in with Kilcline, tied in with Sheedy, you've just mentioned, all the other names you've mentioned. What you've got to remember, and Steve and I talked about this last week, I said the great thing about getting Trippier is maybe Trippier then goes back to England and says to a centre-back, come and play with me. My danger is these days that once upon a time for Venison, for Kilcline, for Sheedy, for these types of people, they were all British people. They knew one another. They had a relationship. They came to one another. They had camaraderie. We even had it with the Bush, with the Russia and the Barnes and the Pierces. Again, still at that stage, we were talking about British footballers, camaraderie.
Yeah.
Now, do we think the same's going to happen? I'm sorry, it's not. Kieran Trippier, Botman, X, Y, and Z will have no relationship with one another at all. So, Eddie Howe might want them, Eddie Howe might need them, but at the same time, he's going to have to work with them for at least 3 or 4 months between now and the end of the season. Once upon a time, British players, you could get them in a January and they'd be fixed. They'd be fixed, ready to go for February. This isn't going to happen with these players.
Well, what happens when we signed all the French players in one go? That worked.
Absolutely, exactly. And look at the Germans at Chelsea, etc. This is what tends to happen. You get packs because you've got 3 or 4 of them together, and it makes the unification of the side that much easier. We don't seem to have that at the minute, and we've only got 3 months to play with.
I tell you what, we haven't got, Mick, at the moment. God, I was just going to say, we haven't got a winning mentality. That's why we need to bring people in with the winning mentality.
Absolutely.
So they've had it on an easy street for too long. So this is what we need. And if it means bringing an English centre back in, go all out for Connor Cody. I don't think anyone would disagree with that.
And
absolutely.
You've just taken the words out of your mouth, Stu. That's why my next signing will be Connor Cody, because like I said last night, he would be our next Kilcline.
Or 6 months ago or 3 months ago, I'm exactly the same with you two. Never mentioned Cody. I would have been throwing in Tavkowski and me from Burnley. There's another couple of decent, good, proper, British players who again, Eddie Howe has a relationship with as well.
Yeah. Okay, big shout out to our sponsors, Spider VPN. For all your internet security, please Google Spider VPN. They come up at the top of the search list. They are the boys to trust for keeping your computer clean. And big shout out to skipsandbins.com, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks also to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 01913897245, and Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD Hemp and Cannabinoid Specialists, www.thegohd.com. Thanks also to Arcot Interiors, who can be found at Heaton Road, Newcastle, and Google them as well. They come up at the top of the search list for all your kitchen needs. Thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and to Jab Signature, jabsignature.co.uk. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner. Hit the thumb up under the video to like it, and click share to share to your social media, and drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and the rest. And don't forget, last chance to get your tickets for Mick Lowe's with Peter Beardsley, Sunday the 30th of January. And that is an afternoon event. Tickets available on Groupon and on Voucher. Please make a donation to the food bank via NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk. You can make a virtual deposit there, or you can go to the ground before the Cambridge match today and make a donation in person. Steve Hasty and the guys will be up there as usual. And don't forget, if you want to come and see Supermac today, he will be at the Dog and Parrot at 1 o'clock. Pre-match and post-match, he will be there at 6 o'clock, looking ahead and looking back at today's FA Cup match against Cambridge. And don't forget as well, we do have our Nick DeMarco donated T-shirt up for grabs on Twitter. It was got off to a flying start last night. I think it was up to 60 quid. But Nick DeMarco gave us permission to put the photograph on the T-shirt. So Nick DeMarco one-off T-shirt for the food bank. Just follow me on Twitter at Steve Wraith and make a bid underneath the pinned post. Okay, Alwaleed, coming to you, mate. FA Cup Day. It's a special day in England. Is it going to be a special day for you with the Saudi branch of Newcastle supporters? Are you going to be able to see it anywhere?
Yes, of course, and I use I really like FA Cup because it's the it's the oldest cup in the world, competition in the world, and I know some people say we should care about Premier League more, but in our fight in relegation battle, but we could get use of better use of this competition, and who knows, maybe we reach ahead. Maybe we go to final. Who knows?
Yeah, okay. I mean, I know you're up for a laugh usually, Alwaleed. Have you heard of the group Bon Jovi?
No.
Bon Jovi. Okay,
Maybe I know, but I didn't know the name.
Okay, well,
He's halfway there.
He's halfway there, yes. Scott has said, good morning all. What do you think of this potential Trippier song? Okay, is anybody willing to give this a go, Stu?
No, definitely not. I can't
Mitch?
sing.
It's out with my range, that, mate.
Whoa, Kieran Trippier. Whoa, living on a prayer. Yeah, okay. Well, we can see whether that works. We'll get a bit of practice.
He's a singer? He's a singer?
Yeah, Bon Jovi, yeah, it's a band. Yeah, but they've
come
up with that
okay.
song. Yeah, Connor Cody was a name that got mentioned last night, Alwaleed, on the show. It was interesting because I asked the lads, I think it was one of the regulars, it was one of our sponsors actually, it was Spider VPN asked the question, which player would we all like to sign? So I went first, I said Connor Cody, Mitch said Connor Cody, and Steve Hasty said Connor Cody, so it was a hat-trick. Are you in the same boat, Alwaleed? Would you like to see Connor Cody sign for Newcastle?
Of course, he's a great player, and we will be lucky to. If you just give me 1 minute to, I would like to comment about the players we're signing. Usually now the best our Class A players, they are mostly teenagers, and they just want to go to Real Madrid because this is the thought: if you go to Real Madrid or Barcelona, you will get the best world prize every year. Everyone would like to be next Cristiano or next Messi. So getting that, as Mr. Mick saying, Mick Lewis, he said that we need someone from, as I understand, 24, or he's young, type of class and young. This is the most difficult, but this is gonna be changed in coming 2 years. World balance is gonna be changed. I think Real Madrid and Barcelona will not have what they have last 10 years. So we're gonna, and this is the problem. And if we have to go to Gareth Bale or Marcelo, they are big names, but their performance, it's not like before. So nothing, we should be in the between. So we just have to focus on the team. No need to bring Bill Bart's a player in this first year or 2 years, but after we organize our team and make it compete in the competitions and play well, it will hopefully later on will attract the class players we're looking for.
Yeah, billboard signings is what certain fans are looking for. I just want players who can come in and help us get out of this mess we're in, because we are still in a mess. We don't want to take our eyes off the ball. FA Cup day then, Mitch, and for me it's always special. I love a cup run. I've been lucky enough to go to Wembley on more than one occasion with Newcastle. Never really turned out right. More fun going to semi-finals at Old Trafford, to be perfectly honest. But we've got to break that trophy jinx at some point, Mitch. Is a cup run a distraction, an unwelcome distraction, or is this something you'd like to see Newcastle do? I believe winning breeds confidence.
You touched on it last night, and that I feel exactly the same. It's one of these ones where if we're getting to a roll and we're winning games, it won't be a distraction. And so for me, I don't have a big issue with it. Also, it's a platform where some people who may have been regulars are then back on the fringes of the side, because if we're going to bring 4 or 5 names in, that's going to nudge some regulars right out to the fringe of the squad. And so it may be an opportunity for those players to be put on a show and say, right, I want my place back here. I want to show what's going on. So I don't think it should be too much of a distraction. Contrary to popular belief that we expect to win everything, nobody expects to win it anyway because of how long it's been since we have won it. But I think to have that sort of keep the positivity rolling, I wouldn't be too bothered by a nice cup run during the middle of everything, because winning breeds confidence. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it does, Stu, doesn't it? I think a comprehensive win today would be great, but just a win takes us nicely into the Watford game the following week, which is a 6-pointer.
Yeah, I'm quite certain we'll win it. Is just what TV puts out. Now, remember, we haven't played. By the time we play Watford, it's going to be nearly 3 weeks since we had a game. So there should be more first-team starters playing today just to keep them fresh rather than have them stale for Watford. And I've never been adverse to a good cup run. I think it's critical. It's in our blood. It's part of the club's heritage. And I don't think it would be detrimental to the league at all because we've got I think in the press conference yesterday, anyhow, although he was very clear on anyone he signed would improve the team, and he meant it, there was a bit where he was talking about the young lads as well. So I think they'll get a run out. They can be covered with more experienced players, with the Matt Ritchies, etc., the Kieran Clarks. They can be all playing today and have your Elliot Anderson playing. We can win. We'll win today. If we get a good round, get a good draw the next round and go through that, then you'll find out if the cup's important or not. Because the whole region gets taken off its feet, doesn't it? That's it. We're going to win the cup again, and so add that with a few more signings as the rounds progress, or before the end of this month anyway. Why not? It creates a feel good factor, and I think the most important thing we have to remember is we've won one game this season. I think it's imperative that we get another win under the belt as quickly as possible and not put all our eggs in one basket and hope and pray that we beat Watford and then Leeds and then Everton. Let's get a win on. Let's get that walking off the pitch with the fans clapping them off for a change instead of booing a referee or, people leaving 5-10 minutes before the game's finished because they're already beat. Let's have a great atmosphere. I mean, the atmosphere at the Manchester United game that me and Mitch flew over for was brilliant. It really, really was. And I'm quite certain that it won't be the same today because it's a different opposition. But, let the people who are taking the kids for the first time, let them feel what this game's about, what this club's about, what this team's about. And, it's exciting. Supporting Newcastle has always been, well, not always, sometimes it's been a trauma, it's been hard work. But now it's exciting, and I think we keep referring to the Keegan era, but this genuinely is this similar feeling where, we used to open the papers, didn't we? Like, who was signed? Now it's all online, and we've got the financial capability to do it, and we've got the pulling power to do it. Not everyone, not the top players in the world yet, but we can seriously improve this squad, and. I reckon, anyhow, if you go back to when we were kids and Christmas, you'd get a catalogue, wouldn't you? And you'd look through. And you end up being like Eddie, Andy from Little Britain. I want that one. I want that one. And he's just doing this with these players, I need a centre forward who's better than what I've got. So there's something. I was speaking with Chris Hall from Loaded and from the 5-minute rant yesterday. And we can't be sentimental. If Callum Wilson's going to be out for the next 2 months, we need to get a quality striker in to replace him and actually maybe replace him long term. And this is where I'm talking about the sentiment. Wilson, I think he's brilliant. His positional sense, his attitude, his finishing. But if he's only going to be playing 10, 15, 20 games a season, we need someone who's going to be playing longer. And if we get a good quality player in, then if we go back to the era that we keep reverting to, Mick Quinn got sold, David Kelly got sold, Gavin Peacock got sold. They were all heroes to us, but they got replaced by people who could take the club further forward.
Barry Venison.
And bring them in. And if these players return, the ones who have put the effort in, the ones who have been fantastic and committed, will always get a good reception. But remember, that squad I've got us in the position that we're in. And that's the worrying thing. We need to take Setman out of the way and start moving on quickly. And that's where the Saudi mind comes in, Mick. There's no room for sentiment.
Mm.
But the original question was, do we want a good cup run? Of course I want a good cup run. And we'll win, depending on, I won't give the scores yet, but we'll win comfortably today, even with their weekend team.
Mick, what do you think of the farce that the Southampton manager said about not playing players that have been bought in, says Geordie Ian?
To be honest with you, I think I'll park it, Steve. I just think that the whole COVID situation, etc., etc. It's not farcical, but at the same time, it's just unpleasant, and I don't like talking about it. I don't like people, having a pop at one another. What I'd rather talk about is FA Cup third round day, the best day for me in the entire football calendar. Every year of my life. In 1969, I watched Mansfield beat West Ham 3-0. As a reporter, however many years ago, I was lucky enough to be Sutton beating Coventry City at Gander Green Lane. This is magical. And the greatest thing that Newcastle United have done today is put 52,000 people into a stadium, and the majority of them are going to be kids. And I think Stu mentioned the word heritage there, and somebody used the word history. History and heritage. Today is about history and heritage. It's about keeping that heritage. It's about keeping the love of this black and white striped shirt. It's about 52,000 people, kids who don't get to see the Premier League. They don't get to sit in this magnificent stadium. And there's kids running up that stadium today, walking up that stadium with their dads, walking into that stadium for the first time. I did it to Field Mill Mansfield to watch Bobby Moore and Martin Peters at 7 years of age. Honestly, you just can't beat these things. These are fantastic. I don't care that it's Cambridge. I don't actually care if we win today. What cares to me is 52,000, the majority of them kids or people who've never been lucky enough to watch Newcastle United get to walk in that stadium today and are going to be absolutely gobsmacked the day that they walk in there this afternoon and have a look at it. It's fantastic. The FA Cup is the greatest thing that has ever been in football for me. It really has.
Yeah, it certainly gets the hairs on the back of your neck standing up when you go to the ground for the first time. And as you say, it's great to have so many kids being able to go in, and 52,000 for a third round cup tie against Cambridge is
amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it does. It blows everybody away. A lot of people asking about players coming in and what have you. We've covered a lot of that last night on the Three Amigos. Jordy Ian says, I love the fact that most of the players we think we are going for aren't Premier League, as they all said they wouldn't do business with us. So yeah, I told you that was a farce from the start. MS says, do the lads think that our current squad, including Trippier, is good enough to get 3 points off Watford next Saturday? If not, it is imperative that our owners secure players ASAP and bid accordingly. Is this squad, just with the addition of Trippier, Mick, is it good enough to win against Watford, do you think?
Well, again, against Watford is a question mark, but is it good enough to necessarily stay clear of relegation? The question is definitely no, it's not good enough, which is why, going back to the point that we all made, yes, Kieran Trippier is a great signing. Yes, Kieran Trippier is a top player, but I'm sorry, at this minute in time, he needs help. Eddie Howe needs help. Everybody needs help. And to the tune of 4 or 5 players. And going back to the point you've just made about Watford, and I think somebody just mentioned there about, yes, Cambridge today is important. And yes, Cambridge today, it'll be nice to have a cup run and hopefully we'll win and then hopefully get a nice, easy draw in round 4. Most importantly is Watford, because what we've missed in the last 24 hours and the last 2 weeks is the fact that Leeds United have now gone to 19 points from 19 games played, having won a game while we've not played. So suddenly, Newcastle are looking at 11 apiece with Burnley. Norwich have got 10. You've then get Watford 13. So you've got 4, those bottom 4, and suddenly you've got a little gap again. So Leeds United are now 6 points clear of Watford, 8 points clear of Newcastle, and it's down to basically, again, looking a little bit like 3 or 4, and of those 4, Watford are one of those. So at this minute in time, yes, we need signings. We need signings ASAP, and certainly need them by the end of January. But if we can try and beat Watford, that would be huge. Now, Do I genuinely think, even with Kieran Trippier thrown in, we could beat Watford? I have to say, I don't think so. I think I would like to think it. I would think we're capable of beating them, but I don't think it's a sure thing at all. I certainly don't. If we manage to get a couple between now and 7 days' time, then maybe that might help. But at this minute in time, this is the point about Kieran Trippier. Yes, he's a good ball player. Yes, he's a good free kick taker of the ball, etc., etc. But he's not going to be the difference between winning and losing against Watford in a week's time. There's absolutely no doubt about that. We need more. We need more help. And Watford could be a huge, this time next week, we'll be talking about a proper game of football. Yes, we're talking about the FA Cup. Yes, we're talking about the romance and the heritage. This time in 7 weeks' time, there will be a proper game against Watford, because you look at that bottom four now and it's getting sweaty all of a sudden again.
Doggy Dog down there, Alwaleed. Do we need more signings in before that big game next weekend?
Yeah, of course. Actually, it's not just us working, even Watford working, and Ranieri already fixed the Danny Rose position. He bring someone called Kamara, and
Yes.
yesterday they asked a defender, Nathan Phillips from Liverpool, by 7 million, but Liverpool refused. They want, I think, 15. So even Watford preparing for us. So we should do, and of course, one is of course not enough. We need at least 2 defender and 1 striker before that game.
Is the big worry where we're going to score goals, Alwaleed?
I'm sorry?
Is the big worry not having a striker next weekend?
Yeah, of course, yeah, because I know we have a plan B. We put Saint Maximin as a striker, but why not? A lot of good goal scorer and striker available now, unless if they have target, okay. But if there is no target name or specific name for a striker, even we can get someone for loan and wait for the target until the end of the month. It's okay, but we get someone striker for a loan. We just, like, for example, Diego Costa just to break his contract with Atletico Mineiro from Brazil, and this could be good. It's not a coincidence he break his contract now. I think maybe he want to get back to Premier League. He want to listen to offers. So today is 8, so still 1 week before the game. So who knows what happened 3 days, coming 3 days.
Yeah. Okay, Mitch. I mean, it's you don't take your eyes off the game today, but you are looking at next week, aren't you? Would you like to see another name through the door at least before then?
We need a striker by then, for sure, in my opinion. Diego Costa's an interesting one, but I believe he's going to Corinthians. The word in South America is he's been made an offer by Corinthians, so he's going to another part of Brazil. I would personally quite like him in a short term, because it's a long time since we've had a real proper nasty little piece of work in my team. Somebody who just really upsets people left, right and centre. I'd love a little bit of that, actually. Might just be what we need in a dogfight down at the bottom of the table. But yeah, I think I'd like to see at least a striker and 1 more in before Watford to feel a bit more confident going into that game. Yes, I think we can do it, because, gosh, if you play like we did in every game, like we did against Man United, you'll win a lot more than you'll lose or draw. There's no doubt about that. But Watford have shown that they have these little blips of form that when they click, they click. And so we need to be prepared for that. And I don't know if we are. I don't know if we minus Wilson, I don't know if we've got the ability to change gear to cope with something like that. So I think I would like to see at least another striker in.
I think Eddie Howe seemed that I don't know if anybody agrees, but the quotes I heard and the interview I heard from Eddie Howe, I mean, he may be being canny, but he didn't appear to be on his radar in terms of anything soon. It didn't seem like anything was imminent of any description. Now, he may be being canny, and I'm much happier with managers doing that than shouting and bawling. But he did seem a little bit tentative towards anything happening, certainly between the next week.
I think he's being coy, Mick.
Good.
I really do.
Definitely.
From some of the things I hear this side of the water, certain things I think are a bit more advanced than people realise.
Yeah.
And a lot of these things are off the radar.
Yeah, I would agree as well. Yeah, rumours saying that the Botman deal is probably at a more advanced stage than we all feel. Deal's not done yet, but negotiations have probably progressed and will progress over the weekend. So fingers crossed on that. Stu, do we need a couple of players in before next weekend's 6-pointer?
Yeah, I think so. A forward, it seems to be the common theme of today, but we all know we need a centre forward. Because for what Mitch just said too there as well, Watford do have ups and downs with form, but I'm sure, make no mistake, they would have earmarked this game next week as a winnable game for them.
Yeah,
you know, and same as us. You know, and we did the same with Brentford. We did the same with Norwich. We did the same with Burnley. We only ended up winning one of them. Now, as these winnable games run out, because we don't have that many winnable games on paper with the squad we've got, we need to take full advantage. So any addition that's going to improve the squad, as Eddie Howe kept referring to yesterday, will be welcome. And for sure, if we've got to pay a little bit extra than what we would have done or what we'd like to do, the consequences they're unbearable, aren't they, to what could happen. So if someone's being greedy, just put the money down, because that person could score the winning goal next week or the week after, and it makes all the difference, especially if and when we win today. There's 2 games on the bounce, and all of a sudden it's a different Newcastle. That should take us out the relegation zone if we win next week.
Okay.
So we'll have to focus on it.
Almost done. Prediction from you, Mick, please, for today's game.
Cannot see anything other than hope. You'd like to get 3 or 4, but that's certainly a couple.
Okay, Alwaleed, your prediction, please.
2-1 Newcastle.
Mitch, get the dice out.
Dice of Doom. And the Dice of Doom says 2-1.
To Newcastle. Okay, Stu.
Aye.
3-1 Newcastle with a weakened team. 4-0 with a stronger team.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to go for a 3-0 win today, lads. I think Newcastle will do well today.
Yeah.
I think the youngsters will come through and they'll play their bit. I'm going to leave you though, guys, before we finish, with these words from somebody who went there and did it. I clattered down those Royal Box steps. I sprinted across the scarred green turf. It's yours. It's yours, I bawled at the greatest supporters in the world. That was Joe Harvey talking about winning the FA Cup in 1951. Dare to dream, lads. Dare to dream.
Thought you were going to say Joe Linton.
It could be.
He said sprinted. He said sprinted.
You gave it the big one, and then you went, those are the words of Joe and not Linton, sure.
Have a good weekend, lads. See you next week.
See you later.
See you later, lads.
Hiya.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again.